My name is Ricardo Morales, Ricardo Morales.
May I inquire, sir?
You may?
Thank you, sir. Good morning.
Good morning.
Mr. Morales, how old are you?
I'm 27.
Do you currently live in the state of Florida?
I do not.
What state do you live?
Illinois.
How long have you lived there?
About a year and a half.
Are you married?
Excuse me?
Are you married?
Yes, I am.
Do you have any children?
Yes, one.
Did you live in Florida in 2007 and 2008?
I did.
What were you doing when you were living in, you were living in Central Florida in Orlando?
Yes.
What were you doing at the time?
I was working at a car dealership.
At a car dealership?
Yes.
What were you doing at the car dealership?
I worked in the service department, setting appointments for people.
In the service department?
Yes, setting appointments
Okay,
for car repairs.
thank you. Do you know Caylee Anthony?
I do.
When did you first meet Caylee Anthony?
I met her June 2007 at a party of one of our mutual friends.
At some point, did you begin to date Caylee Anthony?
I did.
When was that?
It was February of 2008.
When you first started dating the defendant, did she tell you whether or not she had a job?
Yeah, she did tell me she had a job.
Okay. Where did she tell you she worked?
At Universal Studios.
Did she tell you what she did at Universal?
She said she was an event coordinator.
Did she give you any other detail about what her job was?
She said her job required her to give tours of Universal Studios and Islands of Adventures to people from out of town. That was basically I guess her entire job there, from what she told me.
The time that you were dating her in the early months of 2008, did you ever visit her at work?
No, I did not.
Did you ever talk about work?
Occasionally.
Okay. Did she ever mention people that she worked with?
Yes, she said she had a coworker named Juliet, who she talked about on occasion, and a boss named Tom.
Had you ever met those people?
No.
Or spoken to them?
No.
While you were dating her, where were you living?
I was living at 232 North Glenwood Avenue.
Is that a house or an apartment?
It's a townhome.
Townhome? Did you live with anybody else?
I did, with John Chat. John Chat.
Was Mr. Chat living there at the time that you were dating the defendant?
He was.
Were you aware that the defendant had a daughter?
Yes.
Okay, and what was her name?
Kaylee.
Okay. Did you know Caylee?
Yes.
Okay. When the defendant came over to you, did the defendant come over to your townhome on a regular basis?
While we were dating, yes.
Well, let's clear this up. When did you start to date?
In February of 2008.
Okay. At some point, did that relationship end?
It did.
When did that relationship end?
Mid-April of the same year.
Mid-April of 2008.
Yes.
Okay. During that time frame, did the defendant stay over with you?
Yes.
During this time frame, approximately how many times per week would she stay with you?
4 to 5 days a week, nights a week.
The 4 or 5 times a week that she stayed with you, were there any of those occasions where Caylee also stayed?
Almost every occasion.
Did Caylee have her own room?
She did not.
Where did Caylee sleep?
She slept in the bed. I slept on one side, Casey in the middle, and Kaylee on the other.
Now, for 4 or 5 times a week,
Sustain.
during this time frame, that Caylee was staying over with you and the defendant was staying with you, did Casey Anthony keep clothes over at your house?
She didn't leave any clothes. She would bring clothes for herself and Caylee, but she never left anything at our house.
How about any toiletries, toothbrushes, hairbrushes,
No.
makeup?
No. Everything, if she did, she brought it with her and took it home.
Can you bring them? Sir, I'm showing you what's been marked for identification B. Can you see that photograph in front of you?
I can.
Do you recognize that photograph?
Yes, I do.
Do you know where that photograph was taken?
Yes, I do.
Where was that photograph taken?
That was my room in the Glenwood apartment. Townhome.
Who's in that picture?
Casey and Caylee.
Do you know specifically when this picture was taken?
The reference of a photograph that's not admitted into evidence.
Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Overrule at this point is foundation.
Thank you, sir. Do you know specifically when that picture was taken?
Your Honor, there was a pretrial ruling as to this photograph. Just want to remind the court.
Well, he hasn't done anything with it yet. Let him finish. Continue, Mr. George.
Thank you, sir. Do you know when that photograph was taken?
I would say late January because Caylee has a bruise under her eye.
Okay.
Sir, just
Section, Judge.
just tell us the date.
I don't know the
Listen carefully
date.
to the question.
I do not know the exact date that the photo was taken.
Okay,
I have a sidebar. There's
not right now.
Do you know what room this picture was taken in?
This is my room.
Mr. George, you've
Okay.
set your foundation. That does not go to the foundation, sir.
Very good. Sir, is this a true and accurate representation of what the defendant looked like and how Caylee Anthony appeared back while you were dating in the winter and spring of 2008?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move what's been previously marked for identification B into evidence as the state's next in line.
Mr. Baez,
yes, sir. We would object. There have been a
approach
pretrial.
the sidebar.
Yes, sir.
All right. You and the defendant broke up in mid-April of 2008?
We did?
All right. After you broke up, did you remain in contact with one another?
Yes.
How so?
She'd still come over occasionally, not as frequently as when we were dating, but we maintained our friendship.
Was the breakup, was it a bad breakup?
No.
During the time that you were dating her,
Overrule.
while you were dating her, Ms. Anthony, did she relate to you first of all, did you ever meet George or Cindy Anthony
No.
during the course of your relationship?
No.
Had you ever been over to the house?
Yes.
When were you over at the house?
I went over once early on when we were dating. She invited me over for breakfast.
When you went over there for breakfast, were her parents at home?
No, they were not.
Directing your attention to June 7th of 2008, did you happen to see the defendant on that day?
Yes, I did.
Where did you see her?
She spent the night.
Was Caylee there?
She was.
When did the defendant and
Move to
What is
strike.
the objection?
Relevance 609.
Overrule at this time.
Directing your attention to June 9th and 10th, did you see the defendant on those dates?
I did.
Where did you see her?
She spent the night.
Did you see Caylee on those dates as well?
Strike. 609 and relevance.
Overruled.
Did you see Caylee on those dates as well?
Yes.
Was that the last time you ever saw Caylee Anthony?
The morning of June 10th was the last time I saw Caylee Anthony.
When you saw the defendant on June 9th and 10th, had you been made aware had you ever heard the name of Tony Lazaro before?
Yes.
When did you first hear the name of? Again,
Relevancy?
Your Honor, again, this is just establishing the relationship.
Sustained.
All right. So the last time that you saw Caylee was the morning of the 10th.
Yes.
Did you see the defendant anymore during that week?
No.
When did you see the defendant again?
July 1st.
In between June 10th of 2008 and July 1st of 2008, did you have any contact at all with the defendant?
It was very minimal.
When you say minimal, or what kind of contact did you have?
Maybe 1 or 2 text messages in that time period.
Those text messages, did they relate? Did the defendant tell you via those text messages that her daughter was missing,
She did not.
kidnapped,
Nope.
that she was actively looking for her,
No.
that she needed help,
Nope.
that something bad had happened to her?
No.
You mentioned that the next time that you saw the defendant was on July 1st of 2010. Is that correct?
It is.
Were you living in the same residence that you were when the two of you were dating?
I was.
Did you have the same roommate or any additional roommates by July 1st of 2010?
We had a friend sleeping on the couch at that time.
Who was that?
Amy Heisinger.
Who is Amy Heisinger?
She is a friend of mine and John Schatz. We've known her through college for years.
Why was Amy sleeping on your sofa?
She got in a car accident. Her car was not working, and our house was close to her job, so she would just sleep on our couch and then go to work.
Was she looking to your knowledge, was she looking for a place to live?
Yes.
Do you know where she was looking?
She was looking in the area that we lived, anywhere really in Orlando, I think.
Do you know who she was planning on living with?
She had planned on moving in with Casey Anthony.
Do you know where she planned on moving in with Casey Anthony?
Into Casey Anthony's parents' home.
Did you have discussions with the defendant about her and Amy moving into the house?
I don't believe so, no.
Do you have those discussions with Amy?
Yes.
All right. Now, what were the circumstances by which you saw her on July 1st of 2008?
I was getting up to go to work, and she was sitting in the living room talking with Amy.
This was in the morning?
Yes.
Did you know that she had come over the previous night? Or had she come over the previous night?
Oh, June 30th?
No, I'm sorry. On July 1st, were you at home when she arrived?
When I woke up, she was there on July 1st. I don't know when she arrived.
If you recall, what was the defendant doing when you first woke up and came down to go to work?
She was sitting in a chair talking to Amy.
All right. Did it surprise you to see her?
I would say, yeah. Yes.
Why did it surprise you?
I hadn't seen her in a few weeks, and I didn't know she was coming over, so
Did that upset you in any way?
no.
Did you ask her how she was doing?
Probably. I don't remember exactly what we talked about.
All right. Well, when you did see her on July 1st of 2008, did you notice anything about anything strange or different about her demeanor?
No.
She upset?
Nope.
She crying?
No, she was not.
Did she tell you her daughter was missing
No.
on July 1st of 2008?
No.
Or kidnapped?
No.
That she was looking for her?
Nope.
Or that something really terrible had happened to Casey herself?
No.
Did you see any change in her demeanor on July 1st than you had on June 10th?
No, not at all.
Now, on July 2nd, did you take a trip?
Yes.
Where did you go?
Excuse me?
Where did you go?
Boston.
And how long were you in Boston?
For a week, 6 days, I think.
When did you come back?
I flew into Orlando on June 8th and immediately left the same day. I didn't leave the airport.
Okay. During the time that you were in Boston, did you have any contact with the defendant?
No.
When you flew in from Boston, I believe so you never left the airport?
No, I stayed at Orlando at the airport until my next flight
And where did you go?
to Puerto Rico.
Who did you go to Puerto Rico with?
I flew there alone. I met up with John Chatt, Troy Brown, and Amy Heisinger. Troy Brown and Amy Heisinger.
Was that a trip that had been planned for a while?
Yes.
And by a while, how long are we talking?
Months, maybe 6 months.
Was it always planned out that John Chatt and Amy Heisinger and Troy Brown would go?
Yes.
Was there ever any discussion, did you ever have any discussion with Caylee Anthony about her going to Puerto Rico with you?
I believe she was invited. Yeah. We were dating at the time that we were planning to go to Puerto Rico.
Okay. So that trip was planned back when you were still dating?
Even before, possibly, around that time, early in the year, early 2008.
Back in beginning of June of 2008, did you have a belief whether or not the defendant was going to go to Puerto Rico with you and your friends?
I did not think she was going to Puerto Rico with me and my friends.
Did you know she was still invited?
Yeah, I don't remember rescinding the invitation. I'm sure she was still invited, yeah.
Okay. When did you come back from Puerto Rico?
July 15th.
On July 15th of 2008, did you see the defendant?
I did,
Where did you see her?
at the Orlando airport.
Were you expecting to see her at the Orlando airport?
Yes.
Why?
She was picking us up from the airport.
Do you have any idea, or approximately what time did you arrive from Puerto Rico?
I don't know.
Was it
I believe it was in the afternoon sometime.
Was it daylight?
Yes.
When you saw the defendant on July 15th of 2008, what can you tell this jury about her general demeanor?
She was the same as she always was.
And how is that?
Happy, smiling. She was asking us how our trip was. Just normal Casey.
Okay. Again, on July 15th of 2008, did she tell you that her daughter, Caylee, was missing?
No.
Kidnapped?
No.
That she was actively looking for her on July 15th of 2008?
No.
That anything terrible or horrible had happened to Casey herself?
No.
Did you see anything in either her word or action that gave you any indication that there was anything wrong with the defendant?
No.
Did she give you, Your Honor, this might be a good time to stop.
All right, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we're going to recess for lunch. I'm going to ask you not to discuss this case among yourselves nor with anyone else. I will be back there with you in just a moment. We'll be in recess till 1:30.
issue with the state, of course, is limiting this witness's, the use of this witness's testimony. However, there is an issue where he would certainly be subject to recall by the defense. It's my understanding that he lives out of state. I'm not certain how the state, whether he came on his own expense, and we'd like to inquire as to that and the possibility of getting him back here to testify, because that may be a problem at a later date, especially considering the indigency status of Miss Anthony and how.
What are you asking?
Well, first of all, I'd like to be able to resolve the issue here with the witness being here, and ask that this witness be taken out of turn for the purposes of that, to prevent him from having to come back.
And what is the position of the state of Florida?
Your Honor, if Mr. Baez wants to go into an inquiry regarding what I think he wants to do, I don't think the state has any objection to him doing that this afternoon.
Okay, then issue's resolved.
Please ask.
I did.
Thank you, Judge.
The stipulation, have y'all agreed on the language?
Yes, sir.
Yes. You want to read it, Mr. George?
No objections to the reading.
The stipulation reads as follows. The bruise on Caylee's face in State's Exhibit that has not been entered at this time. The January 2008 photo was not the result of any neglect or child abuse on the part of any person. The parties agreed to this fact, and it should be considered as true during your deliberations. It's signed by Mr. George, Mr. Baez, and Miss Anthony. Miss Anthony, do you concur with that stipulation, ma'am?
Yes.
All right, Mr. George, when do y'all want me to read it? Just prior to you introducing it or after you introduce it and prior to publishing it?
Probably after it's published, Your Honor.
Mr. Baez?
Couldn't hear.
He said he wants to read it after the photograph has been published. My question was, when did you want it read? Okay.
Your Honor, for
Which one now? You say as soon as it's introduced and you say it after?
Immediately after it's introduced, we would ask the court to read it.
Okay, then I will read it prior to it being published, okay?
And Your Honor, that's fine, Judge. That is exhibit, right now that is exhibit B.
Okay, let's bring the jury.
I'll try to be clear. What we would like is, as soon as it's published to the jury, we would ask that the court instruct the jury about that specific instruction at that time.
Okay.
Apologies for not being clear.
No, there's no problem. Let's return the jury. All right. Mr. George, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Morales.
Good afternoon.
When we first started talking, we had begun to reference a picture. Do you recall that?
The picture in my previous room?
That you saw earlier this morning?
Yep. Yes, I do recall.
You took a few pictures of the defendant and Caylee during the time that you dated, is that correct?
I did.
At some point after July 16th of 2008, did you sell those pictures?
I did.
Who did you sell them to?
The Globe magazine.
Did you approach them or did they approach you?
They approached me.
Do you recall about when this was?
I'd say August 2008.
And did you sell the pictures that you had to the Globe?
I did.
And how much money did you receive for those pictures?
Total was about $4,000.
Did you license or sell those pictures to anybody else?
No, I did not.
May we have? All right, sir. Do you see what's been previously marked for Exhibit B on your screen?
Exhibit E?
Well, do you have a picture on your screen, sir?
I do.
All right. Is this the same picture that we looked at earlier this morning
It is?
and that you've identified as being taken at your townhouse?
Correct, yes.
And that's a picture of the defendant and Caylee Anthony in your room.
It is.
And I believe you had indicated earlier that that is a fair and accurate representation of what they both look like in the winter, spring of 2008. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Your Honor, at this time, the state would move what's been previously marked for identification B into evidence as the state's next in line.
What says the defense?
No objection, subject to our previous motions. No objections, only subject to our previous motion.
That would be admitted as the state's next number exhibit numbered. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to read you a stipulation, and the photograph will be published to you. And you may be able to see it, some of you may not. Stipulation between the state of Florida and the defendant. The bruise on Caylee's face in state's exhibit number 12. The January 2008 photo was not the result of any neglect or child abuse on part of any person. The parties agree to this fact, and it should be considered as true during your deliberations. You may proceed and publish photograph to the jury.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. All right, sir. At this time, let me now show you what's been previously marked for identification C. Again, sir, do you recognize that photograph?
I do.
And can you tell us what that is a photograph of?
It's a picture of Casey and Caylee sitting on the couch in the same townhome as the other picture was taken.
Did you take that photograph?
I did.
Is that a fair and accurate representation of what Casey Anthony and Caylee Anthony looked like in the spring of 2008?
It is.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move what's been previously marked for identification C into evidence as the state's next in line, which I believe is number 13.
What says the defense?
No objections, Your Honor.
You received an evidence as states numbered. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I publish this photograph to the jury?
You may publish.
Thank you very much, sir. Your Honor, I have no further questions for this witness at this time.
Cross-examination?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, can you see me at all behind that screen?
I can, yes.
Okay. You started dating Casey in February 2008?
Yes.
And how long did you date for?
Until the middle of April 2008.
Okay. I'd like to show you a photograph. Can you see that photograph?
No. Oh, there it is. Yes.
No. Okay. You know what that photograph is, right?
I do.
And this was a photograph that you posted on your MySpace?
It is.
Okay. And this was posted on your MySpace around the time you were dating Casey?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay. And is this a fair and accurate representation of the photograph that you posted on your MySpace?
Yes.
Unless there's any objection, Judge, we would like to publish this at this time to the jury. And, well, excuse me, admit it into evidence at this time.
Any objections?
No objection, Your Honor. No objection.
The clerk needs to see the photograph so she'll know what exhibit number it is. She sort of disadvantaged.
We have a hard copy, or would it be on the?
Madam Clerk.
No.
Okay, she needs the photograph, folks. Is that going to be the actual photograph you enter in evidence? Because it looks a little different there as opposed to what's there. Do you have the original?
We have an original we'd like to print out, Judge.
Okay, make sure you get me the original.
Yes, sir.
That'll be a provisional one until I get the original, put a note on it.
Yes, sir.
Madam Clerk. There being no objections, Madam Clerk, give us the identification number and the number that it goes into evidence under.
May I publish it to the
Just
jury?
a second.
Thank you.
You may publish, Mr. Baez.
Not certain if they can see it or not. Okay.
Members of the jury, can you see it? All right.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that this photograph was posted on your MySpace when you were still dating Casey. That would also include March 2008.
That was the month it was posted?
No, the month that you were,
We were
time
dating
period
in
that you were dating
2008,
Casey.
yes.
Just a second. Make sure that you wait till you finish asking the question before you answer, so the court reporter will be able to take both of you down. She can't take you down when both of you are talking. So question, Mr. Baez?
Yes, that you were dating Casey in March 2008, were you not?
I was.
And you posted this on your MySpace during the time period that you were dating Casey.
I believe so.
Okay. You don't recall the exact date, though, do you?
No, I don't.
Why did you post this on your MySpace?
It was just a joke. I found it humorous at the time.
Did you have conversations with Casey about this photograph?
No, I did not.
Did you ever tell Casey that? Did you ever mention chloroform to Casey?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you mentioned that you had sold photographs to the Globe magazine
Yes,
and that they had approached you.
correct.
And did you shut off or attempt to not communicate with any members of the media?
Up until that point, yeah, I had not spoken with any media.
But when the Globe came knocking with $4,000, it was okay to talk to them?
Yes,
And the reason that they wanted to talk to you and to get photographs from you is because you dated Casey
that's, yeah, from my understanding, yes.
and because you had photographs of Casey and her little daughter, Caylee.
Yes,
And those were for sale from you.
I had sold them, yes.
Now, you testified under direct examination that Casey and Caylee would sleep with you 3 to 4 nights a week
While we were dating, yep, that is correct.
while you were dating. And that 3 to 4 nights a week, Caylee would sleep in between you and Casey.
No, Casey would sleep in the middle.
I'm sorry?
Casey would sleep in between myself and Caylee.
Okay. Do you, and I would refer counsel to Bates page 1291.
Deposition or what?
Statement.
Okay.
A statement to law enforcement, Corporal Edwards, Rivera, and Deputy Rivera. Do you recall giving a statement to law enforcement on July 25th of 2008, sir?
Yes,
And did you make the statement? There was one time that I can remember while we were dating that she actually started the night.
Need to object to the, and ask that counsel properly impeach, or at least ask whether or not he recalls giving, being asked a specific question and not remembering the answer that he gave, rather than having the counsel testify and just reading a transcript.
I think there was a statement made. I asked him about the statement, and I am now referring to the statement that would be inconsistent with the answer that he gave under testimony. There's no requirement under prior inconsistent statements that you read a question.
Still proper impeachment.
Read him the question.
Do you remember being asked, if I had asked you if she had ever spent the night at your house without Caylee and you had said, do you remember or do you recall giving the answer? There was one time that I can remember while we were dating that she actually started the night. They were both in my bed.
yes,
And is that a more accurate representation of what you actually remembered in July of 2008 as opposed to today in 2011?
if that night they both were in my bed when we went to sleep,
Yes. That fact.
yes.
Okay. Now, aside from you posting the photograph of chloroform on your MySpace and selling photographs of Caylee to the Globe magazine, is there anything that you can tell this jury that would help shed light on what happened to Caylee on June 16, 2008?
To the form of the question.
Sustained.
Is there anything that you can testify that you witnessed on June 16, 2008?
In regards to Casey, no.
No further questions. I actually do have one or two other questions, if I may.
You may.
Now, you would never have you would never be intimate with Caylee in the bed, would you? Or did you?
I don't believe so, no.
And MySpace is a common method that you and all of your friends communicated with back in 2008, is it not?
Yes.
No further questions.
Mr. George?
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Morales, during this time period, how many photographs or pictures do you estimate you may have uploaded into your MySpace account?
I don't remember. I don't think I uploaded too many into MySpace.
Okay. As you sit here today, do you really have any idea when you uploaded the picture that Mr. Baez showed you?
Did I have, excuse me?
Do you have any idea when you actually uploaded that picture into
The
your
date?
MySpace? What?
The date?
Yeah.
No, I don't know the date.
Do you have any idea the year?
I believe it was early 2008.
Do you know what chloroform is?
I know what it's used for. It's a chemical that I guess puts people to sleep if they inhale it.
Did you ever conduct any searches of chloroform on the defendant's computer
I did not.
at any time?
Nope.
Mr. Baez asked you some questions about an interview you gave with law enforcement on July 25th of 2009. He asked you a specific question about if she had spent the night without Caylee, and you said there was one time that I can remember. Do you recall that interview?
Yes.
Do you recall that the officer or Detective Edwards was referring you to one particular night, in this case, June 9th of 2008?
Yes, he and I were both referring to one night.
On June 9th of 2008, you testified previously that the defendant and Casey... Just,
Overrule at this point. Let him finish asking the question. Sir, do not answer the question until I tell you to answer the question. Continue, Mr. George.
did Casey and Caylee Anthony stay with you on June 9th, 2008?
Is there objection to that question?
No, sir.
You may answer the question, sir.
Yes.
When they stayed over with you on June 9th, going into the morning of June 10th of 2008, did both Casey, Anthony, and Caylee sleep in the same bed with you?
They did.
And is that the question that you were being asked by Detective Edwards?
It was not in regards to that night, no.
I'm sorry?
The question Detective Edwards was asking me was not in regards to the night of June 9th.
Okay. What night was he asking you about?
I couldn't recall the date of the night. It was just the only time I woke up when Caylee was not in the bed with us, with myself and Casey.
Repeat your answer, sir.
I was answering the detective's question about a night. I did not recall the date, but it was the only morning I had woken up with Casey in the bed and Caylee was not there.
Correct. If you were to look at the transcript, would that refresh your recollection?
Yep, sure. I guess so.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness?
You may.
For court and counsel, I'm referring to page 1290, line 8 to page 1291, line 21. May I approach? All right, Mr. Morales, did you get a chance to read the lines that I had referred you to?
I did.
All right. And did that refresh your memory as to the context in which you were talking to Detective Edwards?
It did.
All right. And please explain what that context was.
Is there a discrepancy between the transcript and what I've set up here? The night that I woke up without Caylee in the bed was not the night of June 9th.
Correct. All right. I'm sorry. Yes. And what, as a result of you waking up with Caylee not in the bed, what happened?
Nothing. Casey said her mother had called her.
Overruled.
Go ahead.
Casey said her mother had called her during the night and asked her to bring Caylee home. And
Mr. George.
I'll ask a different question, Judge.
Okay.
As a result of that happening, did the defendant and Caylee leave your residence?
when I woke up,
Yes.
I don't recall the rest of the morning. I just woke up, Casey was in the bed and Caylee was not.
Okay.
I don't know if she left directly after me waking up. I really don't recall.
That was after receiving a phone call, though, correct?
When she left during the night,
Yes.
I was not awake for the phone call. She said that was the reason she left, was because she got a phone call.
Thank you, sir.
Any additional questions?
Just so there's no confusion, what you're saying is that when you testified earlier under cross-examination, that there was only one time that you remembered Caylee in the middle of you two, or in the same bed. That was not true. You were referring to a specific date.
Okay. As far as where Caylee slept, it was never directly next to me. And I don't understand what you're getting at.
Let me ask you this. Did you have the opportunity to witness Casey's interaction with Caylee?
That particular evening? Or
Multiple times.
Yes, every time both of them were at my house.
And did you see how Caylee reacted to Casey?
Both the redirect.
Mr. Baez?
Well, two things. One, I thought we had an agreement that we wouldn't have to recall this witness.
I will permit it.
Thank you, sir.
Could you repeat the
You
question?
saw Caylee interact with Casey, did you not?
I did.
Many times?
Several times, yes.
3 to 4 times a week?
Yes.
And did she ever go hungry?
Caylee? No.
Was Casey a good mother to her?
From what I saw,
Sustain.
Did you ever see Caylee run to Casey?
no, I don't. I'm not recalling any moment she ran to her.
Did you ever see Caylee hugging Casey?
Yes.
And did that appear genuine to you?
Yes. Oops.
Sustain.
Was she happy?
Was who happy?
Caylee. Was Caylee happy with Casey?
I can answer this one?
Yeah. If you know.
Yes. She appeared happy, yes.
Yes. And did you ever see Casey strike Caylee?
No.
And did you ever see Casey torture Caylee in any way?
No.
Punish her in a method that would be considered torture?
No, she had issues with Caylee going to sleep, but I don't know. That's the only time I saw her disciplining Caylee.
You only saw her discipline Caylee once.
No, it was reoccurring whenever when she was trying to put Caylee to sleep.
Okay.
But she just looked like a normal mother trying to get her kid to go to sleep.
And nothing other than a normal mother putting a child to sleep.
From what I saw and from my experience, yes, that's how I perceived it.
No further questions, Judge.
No other questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
May the witness be excused. Thank you, sir. You may be excused.